Well, hello there. Chicken Dinner is finally live. Just a couple minutes late here on YouTube and X. Go figure. You haven't done a show since the middle of summer, and then the StreamYard room does not work. My apologies for that, and I promise you I'm going to skip through all of my bullshit. But I can tell you before we get to our guests, this is the beginning of Chicken Dinner football season. From this point forward, one episode per week. That's all you need to know. I'm going to get to my bets at the end, but we're going to kind of zigzag here. Apologize for the delay. And we also had a change in the starting lineup. But before we get to anything else, I want to remind people that this episode is actually sponsored by footballcontest.com. They are the elite at serving Las Vegas contest players for 20 years. Hit up Maddie and Tony if you're going out to Vegas this month. I'm going tomorrow. I'm getting on a plane at 7 in the morning. And I'm signing up at footballcontest.com, the gold standard proxy service. Okay. These guys you've heard before on the show, Julian Edlow and Chris Thurston. Boys, welcome back.
Sammy, great to be back and talking football, because it seems like it's, as the weather's been very nice, it's been an uneventful summer sports-wise, because I've been hanging out with the Bopper, watching UFC, dabbling in some baseball, and I'm ready to blow my brains out, Sammy. So bring football season on, and it's always a pleasure to be with you.
Jules?
We got some technical difficulties. We got some lift shots difficulties. I have some studio difficulties. Big leak down in the basement. Apologies for the living room background, but we're here. We're ready to go. We're talking some football.
And you guys are hosting the Boston Handicappers Network, or you're not hosting it. It's multiple shows per week at Boston Handicap with 2 P's. A new iteration of what used to be the Hustle Show, and then the Double Down Show is now the Boston Handicappers Network. So you can check out CT and Jules over there. And joining us for the first time, I know everybody's waiting here, he's the co-host of Fade You. I can't believe there's no Mets hat on his head. The one and only Joey Cheese in the house.
Let me give myself a little round of applause here. Hi, guys. Hey, Sammy, thanks for letting me bully you into having me on Chicken Dinner. I appreciate it. Jules, CT, nice to see you guys.
I've never had a guest text me before at 7:55 in the morning. We still good for tonight? I've never had that happen until today, Cheese.
Well, I've been excited, Sammy. It's a big deal.
So let's jump into it. People have been waiting 18 minutes to talk handicapping. Let's start with you, Jules, and we'll go around the horn here. And as always, we'll try and keep this conversational. I find the offseason fascinating because there's 32 NFL teams and 53 players on a team. That's endless wagers you can make. And then we've got over 100 teams in FBS and all the markets there, Heisman Trophy, national title, teams to make the playoff. We somehow land on 5, 6, 7 bets that we really like. It's like when you were a kid, you went to the grocery store and your mom said, you can get 3 things. It's very difficult. But when we get through June, July, and August, and we get ready to sharpen our pencils for the test that is football season, what's important to you, Jules, heading into a season?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a balancing act, right? Because the whole scenario that you just laid out, Sammy, is, you know, these markets start coming earlier and earlier now. And you got to decide like when you want to pounce on something, because these markets come out and it's like, okay, well, I got to do my research, but also, all right, I don't want these to move, because over the last however many years, we've seen win totals move a full win, division odds in the NFL shift significantly. So it's like, all right, how quickly can I decide what I really like here and get the best number that I want to get? So that's the first thing that always stands out to me, because this stuff just comes out so early. You're like paying attention to basketball and it's, oh, wow, this stuff has popped up. So that's first and foremost what stands out to me. And then, ripping through a lot of these teams, I think we decide early maybe we like, and then they become this overhyped team, and we all know what happens with a lot of these overhyped teams. You actually want to wind up being on the under after, 2 months earlier. You're like, well, I kind of like this team, and you reserve the right to change your mind. So I think long story short, the ever-changing process of these things being out for 3-4 months now finally comes to a conclusion where it's like, all right, we got games in sight here, and we have plenty of handle coming in on all these futures where we can finally kind of get a representation of what the true market is going to be and start making some final decisions.
Chris, how do you navigate the noise?
Well, Jules, I'll give you a perfect example of a team that was overhyped that both you and I were on last year, and it got smoked. And that was Oklahoma
That's
State.
A perfect example.
Because we pegged that one completely wrong. And, coming off of the season that they had, being in the Big 12 championship, and all the hype around Ollie Gordon, Alan Bowman coming back for his 5th year. Yeah, Sammy, you read the magazines and the power ratings all summer long, and you think you got one there, and you think you get a good number, because we did. We bet over 7.5. I think it closed 8.5. And Sammy, they win 3 games. So, you think you're getting the best of it, and it doesn't really matter. Come when the season starts, they start 3-0, and they lose the rest of the way in. But I thought Jules made a lot of good points, and I start this pretty early. I try and give myself a little bit of a break after college hoops. So usually take April, May, and once June comes around, mid-June, start diving into stuff. And we're lucky enough to be dialed in, the 4 of us, with a lot of professionals that start this stuff right after the national championship, right after Ohio State beats Notre Dame. These guys are starting to work on stuff. We're lucky enough to get their information to help us once we decide that we're ready to end our summer and start dialing into football. So I think that goes a long way when you're starting this whole process.
Cheese, what's important to you?
Sammy, I dropped the ball a little bit this summer. I was talking to CT about it a little bit earlier. So we're a week and a half away from first kickoff. I have 0 college football bets placed. I log in back in, early July, and Alabama's -11, Miami's +3, Clemson's -2.5. Log back in a couple weeks later, Bama's -14. Raz gives out Miami. Now it's +2. So I miss all the good numbers, but that's no one's fault but my own here. I after college basketball, I like to just chill, like CT was talking about, take the summer off, relax. It's family time for this guy. But excited to get back into college football here. Hopefully find some winners.
So the Patriots are a hot topic out here, and since we're all in Boston, let's start there. Team wins 4 games last year. By the way, did you guys like how I changed all that shit on the fly there, color-wise? What a
nice.
skill! What a skill! I'm like, literally, where's my logo? Where's my color scheme? I don't know. Nothing works.
Confused. I didn't know what just happened.
Fuck you, StreamYard. Anyways, Patriots are hot, and I start poking the bear because they're whooping the Commanders, and I start texting some of the guys. Boys are looking good. Yeah, we got 4 head coaches on the staff. Everybody starts to get so excited. But they won 4 games last year, and now the win total is 8.5. And guys like Adam Schefter are calling them sleepers and 10-win teams. And you guys are closer than me and have been forever. Is Drake May good enough to get them to where they need to go from a number standpoint? Anybody take it? We'll go from there.
I'll go first because I think Jules probably has the opposite position.
It's not that opposite, but we'll get there.
Okay. I'll offer to go first.
You can still go first.
I think they're overhyped, Sammy. And me, you and I have been friends for a very long time. I'm as big of a Patriots fan as there is here in New England. And to get to 9 wins, I think is going to be a very tall task for this team. Like I like the moves they made. I like bringing in Vrabel. I think he's going to be here for a long time. I was the first one to say, get Mayo out of here. That was a terrible hire. Thought they should have brought Vrabel in to start. Think they're on track to success here. But with that being said, I think to get to 9 here is going to be very difficult. I think week 1 versus the Raiders is a tough game. People are saying that's a shoo-in game. I think the Steelers come in here. I think that's a tough game. Yeah, okay, you're favored in 11 games, but that's the NFL. What does that mean? I mean, we saw week 1 what the Patriots did to Cincy, as double-digit dogs. They went into this, that game. They somehow won that game outright. So I don't think them being favorites in 11 games means that they're going to get to 9 wins. And I think the biggest problem that they didn't fix, Sammy, is the offensive line. I mean, there's a potentially that there was going to be 3 rookies starting again on this offensive line. I think that's a big problem. And I think that May is going to be a good quarterback, but he's still in his second year here. You bring in McDaniels, now all of a sudden that he's going to turn him into Brady. And then you got your best player, Stephon Diggs, coming off of ACL. That guy's hurt every single year. I just think it's going to be very, very difficult to get to 9. I bet under 8.5.
Yeah, second-year quarterback and a new offense, right? I mean, there's a lot of moving parts. I mean, could they get there? Sure. The schedule is cake, guys. It's cake. But I have my doubts about Drake May. I'm sorry. I do.
So I think one of the early things that got the ball moving here, and it's something that I tweeted out too when the lines came out for the entire season, is the Patriots are favored in 11 games this season. And I mean, you got to take it kind of game by game. Like, okay, so the Ravens and Bills are favored in a lot of games too. The Ravens and Bills are favored in a lot of games by 6.5, 7, 8 points. Sure. All these games the Patriots are favored in is like 3 or less points. We can call those essentially coin flip games. So they're favored in 11. They're not going to win all those games. They're favored by a point and a half, and plenty of those. So I think that's one of the things that you have to compare when, like, okay, a team is favored in X many games and their win total is only this. All right, well, what are they favored by in these games? And so I bet the Patriots initially at open over 7.5. I thought that was a good number that was going to move. I was right about that. I've played it back with some under 8.5. In an ideal world, I'll be a happy man if the Patriots go 8-9 or 8-1, whatever you want it to be. So I bought on the number, and now this is turning into one of those teams that I was talking about off the top that maybe is getting a little too hyped. They've got winnable games, like you're talking about the schedule, Sammy. The schedule is very doable, but they need to win these games when they're favored by 3 or less points, which we know is no gimme. So that's going to be the biggest thing for them. And again, they start off right. It's Vegas, at Miami, Pittsburgh.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they can win all those games. They can also lose all those games. I think the Patriots win total is going to be one that we know, like after week 3, which direction that's going. Are they 2-1 with a close loss in Miami, or are they 1-2 and barely scrape by with a win? Like, we're going to be able to tell pretty quickly, I think, if this team is ready to live up to expectations or not. And I think to go with Drake May, we're gonna be able to tell pretty early on if Drake May or if this offense has found something in Drake May or not.
8.5, Cheese. What are you doing?
So for me, it's the under or pass here. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Patriots going into their Week 6 game in New Orleans at 1-4. Traveling on the road Week 2 to Miami, division game, I could see him losing that. I think Pittsburgh's obviously better than they were last year. I don't think they beat Pittsburgh. I think the Bills just absolutely steamroll them. But yeah, I mean, this isn't a Patriots team I'm fond of. I don't think they are very good in the trenches where it matters. CT said it best. I mean, starting 3 rookie offensive linemen is a recipe for disaster in the NFL. I don't think they're very good on defense either. And like you said, I mean, not a huge fan of Drake May. I'm right now at the point where it's like, you got to prove it to me. So I'm going to wait and see. I'm going to wait and see if Drake May can prove me wrong.
I think they will be one of the better cover teams in the league. At least I thought that. And then I saw the hype. I'm thinking, all right, well, maybe they'll win 7 or 8 games, but they'll be 12-5 against the spread. And then you hear the nugget that Jules threw out. Well, they're favored 11 times. And
yeah, if they're covering, they're winning.
Right. So
right.
It's different. It reminds me a lot of the Lions when Dan Campbell first got there and started to build it up. But somehow this hype is higher than that Lions hype was 2 years ago. And That's very rare. Like I was hoping to get them a couple times this year, +2.5, +3.5. But I mean, I don't know how that's going to shake out. Of course, lines could change. And if they're worse than market thinks, they're not going to be favored 11 times. But I don't think it could be said enough. The impact, the upgrade from Gerard Mayo to Mike Vrabel. I mean, I've talked to beat reporters and people close to the team. Like somebody said the Patriots last year were like a leash kid that got let off the leash and didn't know what to do. There was no structure. It was just like things were just going all over the place and it was chaos. And that's not what you get from Vrabel. Everything matters. Every detail is important. And I think they will win those little margins. The question is, are they good enough to have their second-year quarterback get them over the top? We'll find out. But I was really hoping, guys, that this would have been a small underdog team. I could tease it from 2.5 to 8.5, things like that. I was really looking to play them a lot as dogs. But maybe they slip on the banana peel early and we can take them as dogs a lot more than market thinks right now.
I'm going to have a tough time laying points with Drake May, regardless.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Sammy. Do you think we're hearing the hype being high on the Patriots because we're all Boston guys and we're hearing all the local stuff? How do you think it is throughout the market, nationwide? Or you think people are talking about the Patriots everywhere?
Well, as I said earlier, Schefter has been saying this is his sleeper team. And I think sleeper is, I don't want to say it's a cop out of a word, but what do you mean? Are they sleepers to make the playoffs? Are they sleepers to win a conference? I mean, I'm not a conference or Super Bowl. Could they make the playoffs? Of course. I mean, the local hype is crazy. And, Vrabel did come out and say, oh, we're going to play these games to win in the preseason. And that was one of those sides that got steam from, 2-3 out to 6-7. And they just beat the snot out of Washington.
One of the rare ones that won.
Yeah, right.
The only ones that won. I mean, even this week. I mean, I think that open one. It's up to 2.5, 3 some spots, and they're at Mini. I know. Granted, Mini came out and said they're not playing anybody, but I think the Patriots left some guys at home too.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's going to be an appetite to bet Vrabel, no doubt, but a coach can't change everything in 1 year for the most part. I don't think. Again, I was really hoping this would have been those like grindy underdogs that I could sort of coast with all year. Like last year, the Arizona Cardinals were one of those teams. They were dogs all the time. And they didn't really do what they wanted to do in terms of like making the playoffs and making a run or whatever, but they covered a lot of numbers. Jules, I think you put it best. To cover, you got to win. At least now until market catches up. And
we'll see what happens.
Yeah. But May's touchdown number is kind of disrespectful. It's only 19.5 in 17 games.
That is wild. That's insane.
There's a lot of these young quarterbacks with those low numbers that like, I think player props over the years, it used to be betting a lot more unders with where numbers were set. And that's something over the last 2-3 years where these have come down due to people just blindly betting unders really and coming through due to injuries. And now those numbers have settled in kind of in the middle. There's a lot of quarterbacks like Penix is also in that. I think Penix is 18.5, 19.5 touchdowns in that offense in Atlanta, playing all those games indoors with Drake London. Like, I think there's a lot of these young quarterbacks with very low numbers. They're all set in the same ballpark as like a Cam Ward in Tennessee, which seems, I would think a Drake May, J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix, all these guys should be ahead of a Cam Ward.
So I'm going to rip through some comments here, and then I want to get to bets that you guys like. And if you have a bet, if you're watching live, YouTube or X, fire it in the chat. Let's get some bets here. What do you guys like? I want to know what my panel likes, but I also want to know what the listeners like. Captain Caveman, lift shots being difficult. Color me shocked. There we go. All right.
It was a terrible illness, Caveman. You have no idea what he's going through.
Mike says, that's my guy, Cheese. Alex Smith, preseason for everyone, LOL. Connor adds, too many sharp minds on one stream. YouTube has to do everything to stop it. Titan CT, Vrabel was making toothpicks out of logs with the Titans. Come on, folks. Cadillac John, Josh McD, back where he belongs. The offense will be fine. Also, Cadillac John saying number 4 overall on the OL. That's Will Campbell, of course. What do I don't know if that's a question or not, but those are just some of the comments here watching live on YouTube and X, and then taking shots at Sports Podcast. Jules, hot take: they can win those games or lose those games.
That's kind of my wheelhouse right there.
It's a great one. So I'll go first, and then you guys either react or throw what you like. I'm very high on JJ McCarthy. I don't know why. Maybe it's because he's an Illinois kid that won a state title in high school and then went to Michigan and won a national championship. I love their roster around him, assuming Justin Jefferson and Hawkinson come back healthy and Addison comes back from suspension, of course. I bet them over 8.5. That's gotten blasted, guys, out to like minus 160, minus 170 now. They're still minus 110 to make the playoffs. I think 53-man, that's one of the best rosters in football. And they went out and they got bodies on the D-line. I actually pulled this up. If you guys don't use RLads, hopefully this works. I'm going to try and share my screen here. If you're watching live, look what they added on defense this offseason. So they get Jonathan Allen to play on the left side, the edge, and then Hargrave on the right side. These two guys right here, Grenard and Van Ginkel, were 12.5 sack guys last year, and these two weren't even there. So you bring those two up front, that will help the linebacking core, and then, oh, by the way, you change your corners, and you got Isaiah Rodgers from the Champs from Philly. You got Jeff Okudah, who was a top 5 pick a couple years ago. I love their defense. And then they have depth, too. Dallas Turner from Alabama is going to probably be on the field second and third down. Like their defense, I think it could be a top 3 defense. Am I drinking too much purple Kool-Aid on Minnesota to be a playoff team with a first-year quarterback?
I'll start. I'm on board with this one. I don't have too much to add. I bet Minnesota over 8.5 as well. It's juicy now. I don't mind it. Like you said, Sammy, maybe the better bet right now is minus 110 to make the playoffs. I took a stab at Minnesota when they were 4-1 to win the division as well, because the Lions are a team that I'm down on this year. So yeah, I think JJ McCarthy just has to be. Let's say he's in a much better spot than Drake May. He just has to be sufficient and not blow it on a team where we just saw Sam Darnold come out of nowhere and not only not blow it, but carry them to 1 million wins. I think JJ McCarthy can do what Sam Darnold did. And yeah, the roster's loaded. Like offensive line is good. Receiver, obviously, you're starting off a little bit behind the 8 ball, given the injuries, suspensions, whatever. But you have Justin Jefferson. The rest of the guys will be back. And the defense, you pointed everything out, Sammy. So, and running back wise, bringing in Jordan Mason to go with Aaron Jones, I think is going to provide a spark there as well. I really like Minnesota in the NFC North.
Here's a little graphic for you guys.
And I know Thor's all over Minnesota.
This plays into my Kool-Aid drinking, and I promise you this is not a Viking shirt. This is Fuller from Home Alone right here.
Easy on the Pepsi.
Yeah. People at the bar go, is that you? Like, yes, that's me on the shirt. That's exactly what it is. JJ McCarthy, last 5 games played. He snapped the Vikings' 10-game preseason losing streak, won the national championship, sent Nick Saban into retirement, won the Big Ten title, and beat Ohio State. Those are his last 5 starts. Not bad, CT.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I think you guys, covered it all. What I was going to say, the same thing as Jules. I mean, look what Darnold did in that system. I think McCarthy, if he stays healthy, could do great for the Vikings. The roster's loaded. I'm a little higher on the Packers myself this year, but they seem to be in an absolute disaster with injuries. But I think the Lions agree with Joel. Take a huge step back here with the change on both coordinators. And I think this is the Packers or the Vikings division to win this year.
Cheese, you with me or against me?
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably with you here. I think losing Addison the first couple of weeks isn't going to be great for that offense. But like Jules said, bringing Mason in to go with Aaron Jones. I know they control the ball. They like to run it over there in Minnesota. Also down on the Lions. I think it's the Packers division to lose personally. But as far as JJ goes, I didn't love him at Michigan. I feel like he was more of like a control the clock kind of quarterback. wasn't really super impressive. Didn't sling the ball around. I want to wait and see what I get from him here in Minnesota. But you were dead right. That roster is absolutely stacked.
Yeah, they addressed the line too. They went out and got 2 guys from the Colts on the offensive side, Kelly and Freeze. I mean, they have literally been planning this for a year. And I was told by some people around Minnesota that Kevin O'Connell, even when JJ was hurt last year, he was taking time during the week to set aside where him and JJ could learn the playbook together. And then at the end of the season, when ownership approached O'Connell and said, "What do you think? Should we pay Darnold?" Nah, we're good. We're not going to pay him. So there's a confidence there. Maybe I'm buying into that, and maybe that's wrong, but that's where I'm at, guys, heading into the middle of August. All right, hot potato. What's a bet we like? What's a team we like? Anybody, take it.
I'll give one out real quick. I talked to CT a little bit about this earlier. I contemplated giving it out. I bet it a little while ago. I played Washington team total under 9.5. Looking back at their schedule from last year, I noticed the list of starting quarterbacks that they played against, and it was absolutely atrocious. Spencer Rattler, Kenny Pickett, Trey Lance, Deshaun Watson, Daniel Jones twice, Andy Dalton. Only faced 5 quarterbacks last year who actually start on an NFL roster in 2025. Murray, Hurts, Caleb Williams, Burrow, and Russell Wilson. For me, major regression coming from Washington. I have this team winning 8 games. So under 9.5 Commanders from Cheese.
All right. They're not even practicing Jaden Daniels. I saw this, that they're going to use, they do the virtual reality stuff with him. So he does a lot of his reps in the VR, not on the field. We'll see how that plays out. I was told that nobody in that building thinks that was a fluke last year. But what do you expect him to say, Jules? Oh, yeah, he's going to regress, right? What do you expect the team to say?
Yeah, these sophomore quarterbacks, CJ Stroud kind of being the most notable recently that takes that step back. It's something to pay attention to. I don't have much of an opinion on Washington. Again, I this isn't my win total, so I don't have to give a hot take here. I know we're going to get thrown in for another cold take. I don't have as much of an opinion on Washington. I think Jaden Daniels should be a pretty good quarterback, and he's got the pieces in place there. McLaurin not being around as much at the moment could set in and hurt them, to play to Cheese's point. Sometimes when those guys aren't around in preseason and in camp, that can hurt. And they certainly benefited from certain matchups last year to the degree the Bengals did, even though the Bengals couldn't come all the way back and make the postseason. In terms of playing backup quarterbacks, it was Washington and Cincy that seemed to get some pretty easy quarterback matchups along the way.
Trent's totally right here. No Addison, no Darisaw early. Darisaw's their left tackle. Of course, injuries are the great equalizer, but I have a feeling that once they get through that first month, get the jitters out of the way, I think Minnesota's going to be fine. And then here, this one will hit home for you, Cheese. Sammy likes Minnesota just so he can wear the purple hoodie, which, by the way, is on the way to your house, believe it or not.
Wow.
I got the purple hoodie delivered straight to the door. Sammy's the man for that.
CT, take us to a team or a bet or a player you like. I don't know where you're going to take us, so surprise me.
All right. Well, Bopper is going to be mad at me that I'm going to start talking.
He's not here. You can steal his play.
We're doing our NFL podcast next week. And as everybody knows, I was screaming from the mountaintops about the Eagles last year from July until they won the Super Bowl. And I'm not nearly as high on this team as I was the Eagles last year. But that's the Niners. And pretty much because they have pretty much one of the easiest schedules in the league, right? They're playing the struggling divisions like the AFC South, the NFC South as well. They're also playing teams like the rebuilding Bears, the Browns. The schedule sets up really well for them. I mean, they got at Seattle, at New Orleans, Arizona, Jacksonville. It's just a very favorable schedule for Shanahan, a guy whose vocabulary, losing is not in his vocabulary. So it seems like a road to bounce back. Seems pretty logical and doable with the schedule here. And I like Purdy. I really do. And I think he gets a lot of criticism. And I don't think it's warranted because he fits this system perfectly. And I get it. Ayuk is out until probably week 5 or week 6. But I think between Jennings, Kittle, Pearsall, McCaffrey being back and healthy, I think he could start carrying the rock and carrying the load more here. And yeah, on defense, you let Greenlaw slip away, but you also bring back Robert Saleh, a guy who's been here before, and you still have the two of the best leagues, best players at their position with Fred Warner and Nick Bosa. So you're still going to be solid on defense here. Over 9.5, I think is more than achievable. It's a little juicy now. You shop around, you could probably get like minus 160, minus 165. I like the Niners over, and I like the Niners to win the Super Bowl.
Oh, Super Bowl. Okay, I have them NFC 10-1. I think I'm just like scared of Mahomes, Allen, Jackson. I don't know why I didn't do Super Bowl. I did NFC. I'm glad you brought up McCaffrey though. So let me talk to you guys about this bet. As I share my prop shop, if you're watching live, Christian McCaffrey played 4 games last year. It's so funny how these markets work because last summer McCaffrey was 6-1, 7-1. He won it the year before, right? So last summer he's 6-1, 7-1. Barkley's 25-1, and nobody wanted to touch Barkley because Barkley had a bad ending in New York, and Barkley this and Barkley that. So Barkley wins it last year. Barkley is now 5-1, 6-1, and McCaffrey is out to, well, DK, Jules, for you, 22-1. There's a 27 at Circa. I guess if somebody wants to poach me and bet it before I bet it tomorrow, go for it. I am in on McCaffrey. If he scores a couple touchdowns week 1, that number goes all the way down to 10-1. I mean, people are going to go, oh, yeah, he's good again. I think we forget how great he was 2 years ago, and we're putting too much stock as a collective, not just us. I think the market is putting way too much stock into him being hurt last year. If you like San Francisco, CT, you got to believe in a bounce back there, right, McCaffrey?
Absolutely. I mean, just him being out last year, kind of like you said, after the year he had in 2023, I mean, they could not move the ball. It just really screwed up the whole system. So, yeah, I mean, for the Niners to be successful, they need McCaffrey to stay healthy. And they don't need him to be healthy, all year long. But as long as he's healthy to get him enough wins to get into the playoffs and make a run, this Niners team is as good as anybody in the NFC.
Jules, how about you?
Let me take this and go the other way because you're talking about the perceptions last year about Barkley and CMC going in, and you're talking about McCaffrey here. Let me talk about Barkley here because now Barkley is the guy coming off a 2,000-yard season that is getting all hyped up. I know at DK, we opened his rushing prop at 1,500 yards. It's the second highest rushing prop that DraftKings Sportsbook has ever opened. The highest was Derrick Henry in 2021. We opened him 55 yards higher. He didn't rush for 1,000 yards that season. He got hurt, obviously, if he's not going to get to 1,000 yards, but he did not get there. We're down to 1,425 now on Barkley, so down 75 yards. Ticket count is near even. It's actually 53% to the over, 47% to the under. However, it's 83% of the money under. Money's piling in on Barkley under. I know that's terrifying to do, but like we're just think of the scenario last year that you just put out there, Sammy, with CMC and Barkley. Like, what if we switch roles again this year? And I'll tell you this, Barkley became the 9th running back to rush for a 2,000-yard season. The previous 8 averaged 1,079 yards the next year. They just barely got over halfway there the next time around. It's workload, it's carries, it's injuries. Barkley had a career high, 345 carries in the regular season. He was well over 400 if we count the postseason. That's a big workload. They brought in A.J. Dillon from Green Bay, who's gotten like 550 carries, well over 2,000 yards the last 3 years combined. That's a guy that's going to mix in. That's a guy that's going to play if Barkley tweaks an ankle. Hey, let's give him the week off. Like, I just think these lofty numbers on guys that have huge seasons, big workloads, you go the other way the next year. So you're preaching how you like the value on CMC this year. I'll say let's go the other way on Barkley and project him not to get to a ridiculously high total.
He almost touched the ball 500 times last year.
Yeah.
Between the regular season, I think it was 378, and then he touched it over 100 times in the playoffs.
This is a guy, and it's hard to compare Giants to Eagles. I know he's with the Eagles now, but just in terms of his career, Barkley's never followed up 1,000-yard season with another 1,000-yard season in terms of rushing yards. So
well, I mean, look at the
let's see what he does now off 2K.
Look at the offensive line he had when he was in New York compared to the offensive line that he had when he's in Philly. I mean,
yes, it's not apples to apples at all.
Right. But I agree with you. I see exactly what you're saying.
Ross says the horses are thirsty, boys. I'm guessing that's one of CT's friends. Here's a bet from Cook. Dak Prescott, most passing yards, 12-1. He says it's worth a shot if he stays healthy. I see a bunch of nodding there.
I don't hate it at all.
I might have that ticket.
He might throw it 500, 600 times this year.
You might have to if they want to win.
Well, if he isn't, that means Joe Milton's slinging it, and I don't know if that's very good for the Cowboys.
Well, I think an older Cowboys fan would hope that they could just run the damn ball, but that's not what they do when Dak's healthy. And you bring in Pickens, and you got CeeDee Lamb, and they feel good about their line. Look, I saw Dak in a couple accounts that I have access to. I saw some Dak Prescott 50-1 MVP bets. Those are not my bets, and that price is not available anymore, but I seen it.
The thing that scares me about the Cowboys is Schottenheimer. I mean, what are we going to get with that? I don't know.
Let's see. A couple other bets here. This is from VCatch. I'm on the Pats -2.5 week 1. NFL is super public first 2 months of the season. We'll see. I feel like it was more super public from October 1st to November.
Yeah,
20,
there was a mid-season stretch there where it was, like 12 and 4 public weeks, like 4 or 5 weeks in a row.
Did you give us, I know you talked about Barkley, Jules. Is there a win total that you like or a team future that you like?
We alluded to it. The first win total I bet was Lions under 10.5. And the obvious point there was, they've gone up every year under Campbell. Now you lose what you could argue is the best offensive and best defensive coordinator in football. And Dan Campbell, who is that rah coach, I don't think the biting kneecaps, it worked in that scenario with what they had. I don't think the biting kneecaps mentality is going to work when you have to replace those coordinators and get your hands dirty a little bit more and kind of run the show on both sides of the ball. So I bet it just based off some regression off the coordinators. And then afterwards, Frank Ragnow, 4-time Pro Bowl center, retires at 29. They lose a starter on the D line. Things start to look a little rougher for them. Aiden Hutchinson, he's back. He's, favored to win 2 awards, Defensive Player of the Year and Comeback Player of the Year. Is it going to be that good right away, right off the bat with that leg? We'll see. And then schedule wise, like I'm a big believer in, if you're betting an under, let's get off to a bad start. If you're betting an over, let's get off to a good start. I know the schedule evens out down the road, but Lions first 6 games, you're going to be on the road. You're a short dog at Green Bay. I know we got the Jordan Love news now about the finger, but you're a small dog at Green Bay. You got to go at Cincy. You got to go at Baltimore in a primetime game. You got to go at Kansas City in a primetime game. If you don't win your road games, you're starting off 2-4. I think it's a tough start schedule-wise for a team that lost a lot of its identity.
Brain power.
Yeah, brain power. Thank you for giving me the word that I needed.
Does not have a brain. Don't even get me started.
How many games this year does Dan Campbell cost the Lions just in the
if they keep doing those 4th downs, like some of that magic worked in the past, if they keep going for all those 4th downs, like it is going to come back and bite them. So Lions under 10.5 was the first thing I bet when win totals came out.
The problem there, I think that there's a really good chance Campbell could just be so confident in his guys, but he lost his entire schematic system on offense. Those plays worked because Ben Johnson was. Yeah, and look, I don't think Ben Johnson's going to save Caleb Williams. We can have that conversation if we want, but just to think that you can do what you did last year because you did it last year, I wonder if Campbell's smart enough to realize that. I will say this though, their new coordinator John Morton, he's allegedly going to streamline Gibbs and just try and have a season where he's like Priest Holmes or Chris Johnson in the early 2000s, and we're just going to give him the ball and get the fuck out of the way. If that's the case, I'm a little hesitant. I didn't bet they're over. I agree. It's under a pass. But they got so cute last year, and it came full circle in the playoffs when they were running reverses to the fucking left tackle. And they got so cute. And I wonder if they streamline Gibbs, is he an MVP? Is he offensive player of the year? Is he 1,500 yards? Is he 20 touchdowns? That's the one thing that scares me, that they might feed their guys more than they did last year, because Johnson really tried to spread it out and spread it around and maybe give it to the backup tight end too many times, if that makes any sense.
Detroit might have been the one team in the NFL last year that spread the ball out better than anybody. I mean, it was Laporta, it was Gibb, Montgomery, it was everywhere. You didn't know who was getting the ball, from week to week over there.
Tim Patrick, Jules.
Yeah.
Tim Patrick. He got some love for, what was it, comeback player of the year. He shot up the board at one point in time. They have talent. I'm not telling you they don't have talent. You don't open with a win total of 10.5 unless you do. So, it's always going to be a little uncomfortable going under on the good teams, but it's a lot of wins you got to get. And again, I feel like we'll know early here, because if they start winning road games at Baltimore, Cincy, Kansas City early on, then all right, they're still going to be pretty good even without those coordinators. But I'm taking my chances that they're not going to be. I like that those games are early, because they have to prove themselves without these coaches early.
Yeah, no doubt.
A game I talked to Cheese about this morning that we both agreed on, and now all of a sudden all the news comes out today of all the injuries, is we both like Green Bay week 1 in Green Bay versus the Lions. And if you agree with me, you got plenty of time to wait to bet that game, because now Love comes out. He's going to have surgery on his non-throwing hand. All the wide receivers are pretty much hurt right now. I don't think that it's going to be long-term for the wideouts. You have to wait and see what happens here over the next 3 weeks. But then on top of things today, I think, what was it? Dobbs gets hurt today and leaves practice. If those guys like Watson, Reed, and Dobbs could stay healthy, and then, to throw in Golden, I mean, with all the drops that they had last year, I feel like, this offseason, they should have made a lot of adjustments with these young wideouts. And as good of a season Love had a couple years ago, I still don't think that Love was that bad last year. I feel like just some key mistakes, and obviously running into Philadelphia didn't help there. They just kind of ran those wide receivers into 2026. But I like the Packers week 1. We have to wait and see what happens here.
I wanted to take another question from the chat. This is from Ricky. It's a longer question, but I think it's worth talking about, because a lot of people are starting to use odds screens. And I use Odds Logic every single day of my life, 6 hours a day. So Ricky Pucks asks, jumping in and playing catch up, please ignore if it was already asked. I'm wondering about when the best time to be watching the odds screen would be if I want to bet weaker opening lines in college football. So Circa opens those up at 2:00 Eastern, I believe, on Sunday. So the day after all the games are played, they open them up on that Sunday. And then, they take limit bets, which are like 500, a nickel or a dime rather. And then they kind of set where they set. And then you start to see the other books open up on Monday. And then the limits go up depending on the book Wednesday or Thursday. I do like those initial moves. I chart those guys on Sunday. And if you have a you have a screen like Odds Logic, I'll pull that up in a second and kind of show you what I'm talking about. But I think those initial moves are very telling. And then, to see where Bet Online opens up, to see where Pinnacle opens up, places like that. Like, I'm always very cognizant of where lines open. And then when the limits go up, that's when you start to see a lot more action, especially on the totals. Those totals really start moving Wednesday and Thursday. But I'm curious, Chris, Jules, Cheese, anybody have a thought on when you guys try and pick off college football games?
So go ahead, Jules. Go ahead.
As early as possible.
Yeah.
So for week 0, week 1, it's already happened. Now more is going to happen in the weeks leading up. There's some recent ones, like we've seen Boise State open -10 or so. They're down to -6. We'll see where that goes. I feel like there's going to be some Boise buyback probably. But you probably, I assume, want the more like week to week helpful answer. And yeah, those start popping up on like a Sunday morning, really. And it again, smaller limits. So it's gonna move off of less money. And then you really know midweek when those limits open up, if it keeps moving, then yeah, that's probably a pretty sharp side. But I generally try to stay ahead of the schedule and know what I'm going to want to bet the next week, particularly if the games that week go a certain way, and be ready to pounce on some of those. And if I'm not getting down as much money as I want, that's fine. I got the earlier numbers I want. You can add more at a little bit worse of a number. But, I tend to do a lot of betting early in the week come football season and have what I want. And if you want to buy off, you can buy off later in the week.
Chris?
I think that was perfectly said. Especially
that hasn't been said to me in a while.
College football is notorious for betting early. And on Sunday, when I'm watching the games and if I'm on my office, I have the odds screen up. I'm waiting for the openers, and I have pre-planned, put out the line, what I make the games, or the games that I'm interested in. And if the number is wrong, or the number I believe is to be wrong, then that's a bet for me. And we're lucky enough to have guys friends out there that we could have bet for us at Circa. And then as the other markets start opening up, DK and FanDuel, Sunday's like the perfect day to pick off numbers because everyone's kind of opening up in a different direction. So if you like a team and it opens 3, another book might open at 1. So you got to be paying attention. Always have the odds screen open. And Sammy, I know you and I use the same odds screen, and that's Odds Logic, and you have it up right there. And you could see it in my background as well, in my Baylor picture. That's always up on my screen.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I said I highly recommend it.
Oh, I thought I was cutting somebody off. So I wanted to show Ricky just a quick example. So obviously, as Jules said, these lines have been out for forever. But let's take this game right here, 191, 192. I have it highlighted on the screen. Toledo, Kentucky is a huge, sharp game. And holy shit, Chris is already 7.5 on this one. So we took 10 on Toledo. Not to pass posts on my program, but it's my program. I'll do what I want. If you have a screen like this, what you can do is you can go to Circa and click that individual game. So it'll show you the line movement. So this opened up on June 26th at 10. So it allows you to sort of track the line movement. And then somebody came in and blasted it, and they moved it on August 8th to 8. And now they're 8.5. But if we look at the movement at Chris, for example, like this is a line history at Chris. They opened it 11.5 on June 9th. And they've just been taking steady bets on Toledo. Toledo crossed through 10 on July 21st. And now we're 7.5. I'm high on Toledo, not to change into college, but if you haven't seen any of the clips on social, I love that team this year. I got them over 8.5. But to bring this full circle, Ricky, I think having an odds screen like Odds Logic, there are competitors in the market, of course, being able to see where lines open and where they move throughout the week is a tool that I think a lot of us really rely on in the space. So that's my thought on that. Nice comment here from Chad. Nice to see Sammy P and co back for another season. Going to be a great year. I'm getting a lot of comments about how handsome Joey Cheese is. I'm not going to lie. Like, I'm getting texts about how handsome he is. Cheese, how you feeling?
Burners?
I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna pour. We got through a lot today with the troubleshooting. I'm gonna do myself a solid. I'm gonna pour myself a Jameson here. It's been a.
You deserve it. You're heading to Vegas tomorrow morning too, aren't you?
Yeah, 7:00, so I could sleep on the plane.
Oh, baby.
And the best part is though, you land at 10:00 Pacific, so you have the whole day. So maybe I'll just pull an all-nighter.
Yeah, there you go. Sleep on the
Nothing
plane.
wrong with that. Wouldn't get the first time.
You pick up 3 hours when you get to Vegas.
Exactly. What else? What else is hot? What else is something that needs to be discussed? CT, you look like you got something to say.
I mean, I think we could go over to college if you want and kind of tackle that for a little bit. I don't know how much more time you want to go, but I know you hit me up a couple Saturdays ago and you sent me a clip because you saw I tweeted USC over 7.5 wins. And you sent me a clip from your show that day. And I think my response was great minds think alike. And we all started laughing together. And I know we're both pretty high on this team. So we can go over that if you want. And I know everybody kind of bashes Lincoln Riley. And I think he has the talent to make it happen this year. And you know, a pretty top heavy Big Ten conference with Penn State, Ohio State, and Oregon. Although I don't believe Oregon's going to be what they were the last couple of years.
He hasn't. Riley's got no. I mean, if he doesn't do it this year, he's getting run out of town for sure.
They spent the money, though, boys. They spent the money on this team. I mean, there's a lot of money on this roster. Not that that's the end-all, be-all, but that's sometimes a big deal. I just think it's wild that the public is so high on Illinois and so low on USC. Like, to me, that just doesn't make sense. I'm sorry.
You would think it would be the opposite.
But Illinois wins 10 games last year. Well, 9 in the regular season. They win the bowl game. And now Bielema brings back 16 starters. And, you know, one of my teammates at Fox, Joel Klatt, says they're the number 1 most likely team to make the playoff for the first time.
That's
like,
wild.
Whoa, there's a headline. And then you look at their win total, and it's 7.5. So somebody's wrong there. It's either the house or the pundits, right?
I mean, also, Sammy, look what happened, not to beat a dead horse against Jules and I, but look what happened with what Gundy brought back last year from a team that went to the Big 12 championship. They brought back 16 or 17 starters. And, you know,
Oklahoma State, I will correct you, brought back 21
Thank you.
starters.
Awesome. They won 3 games.
We said, I'll go back to this because I almost interjected off the top where we were talking about hype teams, like when to fade a hype team. If I go back, I'm still playing over 7.5 on Oklahoma State and still going to be wrong. Like, I go to look back, like, what did I miss? How would I correct myself? And I was like looking back on that when I was doing some of my college football handicapping. And I was like, I don't know. I feel like I didn't miss anything. I still would have bet them over. And they absolutely sucked. They went 0-9 in conference after a very shaky 3-0 start. Sometimes something happens that you have no idea. I have no idea how some of these teams bring back all this talent on a good team and then just stink.
Here's the market to make the playoff at DraftKings. It doesn't compute in my brain to have USC at 450, right? Indiana, who made the playoff last year, is 5-1. And then Illinois is 5-1. One of those things is not like the other, guys. USC has the pedigree, has the talent, has the roster. Indiana just did it. Illinois' win total 7.5. I just can't get there.
I mean, you and I bet over 7.5, right? I'm going to read off the schedule here because it goes in the champagne. They start off Missouri State, win. Georgia Southern, win. At Purdue, win. Michigan State at home, win. So they're going to be 4-0 going into Illinois. And I know that's not really a typical spot I like to bet traveling from west to east. But I don't think that's a roll the balls out there win for Bielema and company.
Yeah, I agree. And look, DraftKings is one of the few books that lets you do this. You could parlay teams to make the playoff. I tried at BetMGM. They don't let you do it. So if I took if I took 2 plus prices, right? If I took Miami at plus 170 and USC at plus 450, look at my payout. It's almost 14-1. Miami should make the playoff. I think the ACC is awful this year after Clemson and Miami. But if you hit it right on whether it be USC or Texas Tech, I mean, you take two dogs, and then not to mention, Jules, the ability to boost. I'm not even logged in here. If I took this USC Miami to make the playoff parlay and took it from 1385 and boosted it at 30%, that's how I always play the boost. I don't boost week to week stuff. I boost stuff like this.
I don't know. That's a good PSA right there. Always use your boosts on your long shots.
Yeah, I agree though on USC, and Trent weighing into a USC 5-1 to make the college football playoff. Gimme. Here's another question. This is for the room here. If anybody wants to take this, because we are talking strategy, and I appreciate 1,500 of you watching live right now on YouTube and X, all for the debut of Joey Cheese. Taking shots at sports. How much of a spread or difference do you need to think about trying to middle?
I'm going to be honest. I never try to middle.
I thought I was going to be stubborn. I thought I was going to be stubborn here. We need Dan for this segment. Dan will middle. Dan will middle 7.5 and 6.5.
Sammy, he'll not to go off topic, but he'll text Jules and I the next day. He won both sides of a game that Jules and I lost. Oh yeah, I won. Oh yeah, I hit it. I had +3, +1. Oh, unbelievable.
Well, we talked about it the other night at your house. I mean, people were sitting on Bengals tickets +1. They end up running off, right, -6 or whatever, and then they end up getting blown out, right?
I'm convinced. So preseason football, preseason NFL football, I'm convinced that if you get that number on these games that are moving 7 points, that you have to, because we don't know anything. We don't know how these games are going to go. And again, you're betting Bengals pick 'em, let's say, because Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are going to play a quarter. And then the game goes off 6.5. How can you not take the +6.5 when the other 3 quarters are going to be? Who knows? We don't know. So like preseason NFL, if you're grabbing numbers and you get the good openers, I'm big on coming back on the other side. And I haven't been doing this year because I haven't been paying enough attention.
It's probably one of the few scenarios where I'm all right with playing both sides, but I don't bet preseason NFL, so it doesn't really pertain to me.
Yeah, I do it more in college basketball, and it's more with totals. Like if you get 144 over and then it hits 150.5, I'm a lot more interested there because, as we know, free throws are worth 1. In the NFL, it's 3 and 7, guys, for the most part. So, it's I think it's a lot more difficult to middle in the NFL. Although I know people that do it, they'll lay 2.5 and take 3.5 and power to them. But I rarely do it in football. And the other thing, I don't know how you guys feel about hedging. I had Barkley last year. CT knows I had Barkley really nice. And I had a bunch of people saying, well, you got to bet Derrick Henry now. I was like, do I?
No,
I mean, Barkley's the favorite. I could bet a little. I used to overhedge though. And I wish I had the figure in my life of the amount of money I've lost on hedges that didn't win. It'll make me sick. Actually, it'll make me want to drink. Cheers, boys.
I had a good non-hedge one year on a Nick Chubb. I think, what is this? 2019 Nick Chubb to lead the league in rushing at like 20-1. And we're going into the last week of the season. Derrick Henry needs like 250 yards to pass him. And I was thinking about betting Derrick Henry's rushing prop over. I said, this is a ridiculous number that Henry needs. I'm not going to do it. That was one of those games where Derrick Henry would run for 250 yards against the Texans every single time. And he did it and led the league in rushing. And I lost my 20-1 Nick Chubb and did not hedge.
I'll give you a game I might think about hedging if it gets to the number, Sammy, because I talked about this on the first Boston Handicappers pod, and that's the Alabama-Florida State game, week 1. And I bet Alabama about 4 times so far. I bet Alabama -11, Alabama -11.5, Alabama -12, Alabama -12.5. I think I even have some 13. If that somehow gets to 14.5, I'll come back and I'll take some Florida State. I don't know if I'll take any Florida State 14, but if it gets to 14.5, I'll probably grab a little bit back if that helps that person answer the question at all. But if it doesn't, I'll let all my good numbers on Alabama fly.
Yeah,
I would say one other thing to add to it is also how much I've bet. Like if I'm making a 1-unit bet or a 2-unit bet and that's what I want, then I'm going to let it be. If I'm betting it more partially because I know it's going to move, then I have to say, all right, well, part of the reason I made this such a big bet is because I knew that I was going to be able to get a buyback at some point in time. So then I kind of have to say to myself, all right, well, you added a couple units to this because you thought this was going to move and it did, and you got to kind of bring it back at that point.
If Alex Smith is in the chat right now watching live and you want me to fire another shot with you, I will. Otherwise, I'm done on the shots. I wasn't ready for that one. Here we go. Here's another question. Mike Angus. First week preseason NFL overs were 14-2. Any thoughts why? I don't. I saw Fezzik was trying to do the math behind it, and I almost hit the block button. I had the mute button hit, but I didn't hit the block button yet. It's just so random, right?
The one only thought that I would have here is that these totals are set pretty low. Historically, we know the Hall of Fame game is notorious for being set low. I think it's, you're getting worse players. It's kind of them ramping up, and the totals are set very low. But again, it's not like we don't have this historical data. Like they've been set here for years, and now they're blasting over. So, and not a ton of thoughts.
I don't think
they'll make the adjustments too, and then
Right.
you'll see more unders. It's just the way it goes. Every year when I was working at NBC, they would want to do the first couple of weeks. They want to do, well, the overs are hitting at this or the unders are hitting at this. Why don't you write a story about it? I'm like, oh no, I'm going to write a story about how all the overs are hitting and all the unders are going to hit, and everybody's going to be pissed at me. They always catch up, guys. They always do.
They opened them a lot higher this week.
And week 2, you should get better players. I know I just blasted why you betting the Bengals -6.5 because Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are playing a quarter. That doesn't have to do with the rest of the game. But now starters week 2 should maybe some of them might play a half, right? You're going to get better football potentially, in theory.
I did this to myself. He answered already and said, deal. I'll pour another one. Great. I did that to myself.
That was
You did.
Maybe
is your own fault.
Maybe I wanted it. He also says, I agree with this. I just bought a shirt. Everyone grab some merch. I agree with that as well.
Now you have to drink with him.
Okay. You guys have been very patient and very kind with your time. It's been about an hour here on the show. So let's wrap it up with this. Is there a bold prediction in either college or pro? It doesn't even have to be a bet. I would prefer if it is. Like I'll give you an example. I bet Jonathan Grenard to be the defensive player of the year. He's in Minnesota with the Vikings. He had 12 and a half sacks last year. I found him at 100-1, and there's a bigger number in Vegas, wink, wink, that I am going to try and get off the plane and go bet tomorrow. But that's like 100-1 shot. If it's a long shot for Heisman, if it's a long shot to win the Super Bowl, MVP, if there's anything crazy that you'd like to air out on Chicken Dinner as we wrap up, please have at it.
I'll go first, I guess, here. As you guys know, I'm pretty big on Alabama this year. They're my national champion. I bet them over 9.5 wins, and I knew Ty Simpson would win the job. A kid that's been there under Saban and under DeBoer. He's been in the program for 3-4 years. I think he deserved to win the job. It's rightfully so. There's a lot of people that thought he was going to beat Milroe out last year. And I threw a little money on 30-1 to win the Heisman. And there might be better numbers out there. The circa was 18-1. I bet 30-1 at Buckeye, and I thought that was ridiculous. So that's just a little pizza money there.
That's right where I was going.
Wow.
Yeah, that's wild.
Agreeing on long shots.
Yeah. We talked about it this morning too, though. I got a wild one. I have not placed the bet, but Ladd McConkey receiving title in the NFL this year.
What's the price on that?
Got to be $1 million. It's got to be $1 million.
I don't think it's $1 million.
Is it even available?
I'll pull it up. Yeah, here we go. Let's see. I got the prop shot. I'll find it
somewhere.
Let's see. McConkey offensive player is 90-1. McConkey most receiving yards 30-1.
I like it. I thought it was 36. I thought it was 36-1, but okay.
It could be.
Yeah.
That API could be off. That's only Caesars and FanDuel. I can pull up the price at DraftKings. I mean, anybody can do it. So McConkey to have a big year under Herbert, huh? Or with Herbert.
I like it.
Okay. Jules?
All right, I'll give you a few stabs here. One was already brought up, and that's Dak passing yards lead the NFL. That's not that long, but I'm down with that. I have bet that. I have bet Jordan Mason to lead the NFL in rushing yards at about 100-1. That has come down significantly, but that is still out there at a big price. We're buying into that Minnesota ground game there. We'll see if Aaron Jones holds up. Mason had some big games when he was put into a featured role. Like, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks in a row over 100 yards rushing. So Mason to lead the NFL in rushing yards. I don't know if I've even found this yet, but Ricky Pearsall to lead the league in receiving yards would be my receiving guy. So Dak, not quite as much of a bomb. Jordan Mason rushing and Pearsall receiving would qualify as bombs.
Certainly would. Dak MVP now. I'm not saying bet it, but I said earlier, I saw some 50s that people bet. Look at this range now. 40, 35, 30, 30, 28. The range on some of this stuff is crazy. And I would advise people, again, people want to know tricks and tips and all that. And it's such a big deal to just get the right number. I'll pull a team that I love this year, Clemson. And I'll just show you the range on their title. Not saying go bet it, but if you were to bet Clemson, look at this range. They're 14-1 here, and on the floor, they're 9-1. It's the same bet, boys. And there will be people that only have this app or this app that bet the 9, bet the 10, and don't bet the 14. And I'll never understand it, ever.
Yep. Shop around.
Yep. It is crazy. Closing thoughts, Joey Cheese, on your first chicken dinner. What'd you think?
I'm starstruck being here with the boys. Obviously a great time. I talk to you guys regularly, but it's always nice to come in and shoot the shit, talk about pigskin. Excited to start drinking some Vivas with you guys pretty shortly here. Season kicks off in a week and a half. So, and Sam, obviously, thanks for having me on. It's always nice to have an opportunity to do something like this with you guys. So thank you.
Go follow our guy at Mr. Joey Cheese. And I think this is one of your people, Justin. This is earlier when I said how handsome you were. He said, Christ, that's going to go right to his head. So the love is real. Julian Edlow, closing thoughts.
Good time. I mean, hopefully you guys got something out of this. There were a lot of bets given out. There was a lot of strategy given out. And be patient. It's a long season. I've had some brutal week ones. Last year, one included. That NFL week 1 was terrible to me, and it bounced back. So be patient. Don't go overweight on these week 1 games because they've been on the board forever. Because you're excited football's back. You get into the groove of it later. We know more as the season goes on. So I guess. Boring one, but bankroll management and patience is my message.
At Julian Edlow, EDLOW on X. CT, bring us home.
Yeah, Sam, always a pleasure being on this show and talking football, getting ready for the year. The 4 of us go out, a lot to watch the games, and we'll be doing that. And we'll be here on the Boston Handicappers podcast. Dan and I are going to do the opener every Monday night, like always. That was a big hit last year. And then we'll be having a pod every week that we'll probably release on Thursday. Jules will be joining us. We'll have some special guests. I'm sure you two will join us at some point along the way. And looking forward to another successful football year.
At CT Bets 16 and the show at Boston Handicap with 2 P's. Gentlemen, thank you for making time here. I know it's late. It's a Tuesday. Some of us have kids. Actually, all 3 of you have kids now. Who am I kidding? All 3 of you are dads. Thanks again, boys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Sammy.
All right. It's Julian Edlow, Chris Thurston, and Joey Cheese. I'm going to try and remove them one by one. So if you missed off the top, this was a very, very chaotic show. StreamYard allows you to put a show up and sync everything, YouTube and all your X accounts, and then StreamYard crashed the room. So we were up 10, 15 minutes late. And I did want to discuss a couple of things. We are going to do the show starting this week, every week through the football season. And there are going to be times when I'm in New York City that I'll do it from a hotel room, and you got to bear with me because Bear Bets is now taping live in New York every week. So that will alter the schedule a little bit. I'm still trying to figure out, should I do the shows on Tuesday or on Wednesday? But if you appreciate what we did tonight and what we do, I would just highly recommend that you do me a solid here and hit the subscribe button on Chicken Dinner. Here it is right here, youtube.com at betchickendinner. I have a lot of things that I want to get to this season. And, a lot of people have been asking, why haven't you done episodes all summer? I've actually been studying and reading up on YouTube, on growing social, and there are going to be a lot of different avenues this year to consume Chicken Dinner content. But if you appreciate what we do, and again, there's 1,600 of you watching live right now, this is going to be home base for us. And I really wish, I regret every day that I didn't grow this page. There's only 85 videos on the page because I started doing YouTube last year. There's going to be a whole lot more this year on YouTube with shorts, with live, with stuff like that. So let's crank these numbers up. And that's where you find all the content, all the live shows and all that at Bet Chicken Dinner on YouTube. A couple other quick things. I mentioned earlier, I have a good amount of money on Toledo, over 8.5, more than maybe I'm willing to admit. That's a team that I think is going to split the first two games against Kentucky and Western Kentucky and come out of that 1-1 and then win 9 more and be a 10-win team. I think it's very, very possible. So I really, really think if you haven't bet that yet, we talked about it on Bear Bets, on Bet Sweats with Joe O and myself. I love that bet. It makes me uncomfortable how much I love Toledo over 8.5. And some books are still letting you lay -110. Others are -140. Please lay the right number. And then the last thing here, here's a nice little surprise for everybody. If you are going to be in Vegas tomorrow, we are doing something really cool at one of my favorite wing joints in the country. This is tomorrow night in Vegas because I fly out at 7 in the morning. I'm giving away, along with some friends of mine, we're giving away a free Westgate Superbook college football contest entry. That's $500 value, plus the proxy fee, which is being covered by Maddie and Tony at footballcontest.com. That's $800 value for free. And we're going to raffle that off tomorrow. So if you are in Vegas or you have friends or family in Vegas, if you're going to Bet Bash, that's something you may want to check out. You're going to have a huge crowd there. John Murray's already asked me, when do I have to turn my switch off? When can I start drinking and eating wings with the boys? Well, after the raffle, which I want to do a little after 7 o'clock Pacific time tomorrow on Wednesday, August 13th. So if you're in town, you know somebody in town, that's Naked City Office Bar right by UNLV. Free contest entry, free proxy fee in the Westgate Superbook college football contest. Really cool proxy, really cool contest. Really, really a lot of great stuff going on there. And again, that is a contest in Vegas where you pick 7 games against the spread every single week. Golden Nugget used to do a hybrid, used to do sort of an NFL and college hybrid. This is college only. And we're going to give away an entry tomorrow at Naked City Pizza Office Bar in Las Vegas. I'm going to get to more stuff next week. Schedule will sort of be a mixed bag until we get to the beginning of NFL season. I'm going to try and figure out whether it's going to be every Tuesday night or every Wednesday night. We shall see. But I really appreciate you joining us today as I close out on this fine program. Thanks to Chris Thurston. Thanks to Julian Edlow. And thanks to Joey Cheese. Most importantly, thanks to you for being a part of this. Football is here. Everybody's excited. I mean, what better than having college football next Friday, next Saturday, and then jumping into the pond week number 1 the following week. And then before you know it, first week of September, we're going to have everything we need for the NFL. Oh, baby. That about does it for us on the show here. Thanks for joining us here on Chicken Dinner.